High Representative, who chaired the meeting, will present you with the outcome of the meeting and the main element discussed, after which we will take a few questions via the system set up by the Council. Thank you very much. High Representative, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good evening. Today we had the second video conference with the European Union defense ministers in just 6 weeks. The newly appointed Chief Executive of the European Defence Agency, Mr. Sedivi, was with us for the first time. Our discussion focused today on the security and defence implication of the coronavirus pandemic. Over the past month, we have seen that armed forces have been playing a crucial role in addressing the pandemic by supporting civilian actors and providing cross-border support among member states. There are many examples of that. The task force that we established within the EU military staff after our last meeting on 6 April has been working closely with member states to gather examples and best practices and ensure exchange of information and lessons learned from each other. As we face a global crisis, cooperation with partners is essential, and this is why I have invited 2 of our closest security and defence partners to take part of our discussion today: NATO Secretary-General Jens Stoltenberg and United Nations Under-Secretary-General for Peace Operations Jean-Pierre Lacroix, that provided us with a very useful update on ongoing work in their organizations and the way we can increase our cooperation. It's clear that this crisis will have far-reaching implications for our societies, for our economies, but also for our security and defense policy. Together with member states, we have started to identify and discuss concrete lessons and strategies, implications of the pandemic, paving the way for the future of our security and defense policy. And there was a broad consensus that we should act along several axes. First, to reinforce the modalities for the use of military assets to support civilian authorities in response to the pandemic. The armed forces, in different areas of expertise, security, medical and logistic, have provided and continue to provide a vital help in the fight against the spread of the virus. This is why, for the first time since the Ebola crisis in 2014, the European Union Movement Planning Cell within the EU military staff has been activated. This will allow to request European Union member states military support to transport medical and humanitarian supplies at the request of the Emergency Rescue Coordination Centre. It will also allow responding to requests for support from our partners, such as the United Nations. And there are several of these requests on the way. Second, we will continue to do our utmost to maintain our operational presence on the ground. While the safety of our personnel deployed in our common security and defence policy missions and operations remains a priority, we need to ensure that the missions and operations continue to deliver on their task to the extent possible and explore ways to support our partners in tackling the pandemic. We agreed that the redeployment of personnel on the ground should take place in a coordinated manner as soon as conditions allow us. Third, we need to strengthen our own preparedness and resilience for the future. To this end, we can, for instance, conduct exercises that strengthen our work on cybersecurity or countering hybrid threats and enhance our efforts to counter disinformation, including related to the coronavirus. Intentional and coordinated disinformation campaigns, as we have seen, are real threats to European and global security. Fourth, the lessons learned from this crisis should be an additional driver for capability development and defence cooperation. There is a growing demand for military assistance in support of civilian response, in the context of the health crisis. Some ongoing PESCO projects can play a role here, and we will explore new areas of cooperation inside this framework. And finally, as this crisis also hits our economy, we need to secure the necessary funding for security and defense, both in member states and at EU level. The pandemic will very likely deteriorate our security environment in the years to come. That's clear. The pandemic will be a new threat and will deteriorate our security environment. And this only will increase the need for a stronger European Union security and defense. The coronavirus will increase the need for a stronger European Union security and defense and for a stronger union in the world. We will continue working on all these important issues, and we will revert to this during our next meeting in June. And after explaining what was about on this Council, I am ready to take your questions now.
Thank you very much. I will start with Robin Emmott.
Thank you very much. High Rep.
Reuters.
Reuters.
Robin Emmott, Reuters.
Let me see if it works. Please.
So, High Rep, next week we expect the Commission to come forward with the proposals for a new EU budget. I wondered, is there a risk that the Euro Defense Fund and military mobility will not get the funding that they deserve because of the need for an economic recovery fund? Thank you.
Well, first, I am not sure that next week the Commission will have been ready to present the result of the work we are doing on that very complex and difficult issue. But for sure, suddenly a new factor demanding resources has appeared. It was not in the agenda. We have to completely change our approach to the financial perspective because we have a new and completely different scenario. And I hope that in this scenario, the resources allocated to the defense and security policy will not diminish, because I said before, the coronavirus has brought a new threat, and it requires a stronger defense and security policy, a stronger Europe in the world. And it depends also on the resources allocated to these policies. But I cannot give you any specific detail because the work is still not finished.
Noureddin, then. Bonsoir Noureddin, we can't hear you.
Bonjour. Oui, bonjour.
Ok.
Bonjour.
Oui.
Vous m'entendez maintenant?
On t'entend.
Très bien.
Oui. Bonjour, monsieur le haut représentant. La situation dans les pays environnants de l'Europe, ça veut dire, je parle particulièrement du Moyen-Orient et de l'Afrique du Nord, vous avez parlé de l'impact à l'échelle internationale globale de cette crise. Dans ces pays proches de l'Europe, il y a la baisse des revenus du tourisme, il y a la baisse des revenus pétroliers, il y a l'impact de la crise sanitaire combien même limité. Pouvez-vous dire un mot si vous êtes inquiet que cette crise, combinée aux baisses des ressources économiques, pourrait déstabiliser les pays de la région? Merci.
Il n'y a pas seulement que cette région-là qui court le risque de déstabilisation politique. En général, tous les pays émergents et tous les pays en développement vont subir de plein fouet les conséquences économiques de la crise. Vous l'avez dit, et je le répète, j'insiste même encore plus que vous, les remittances, les transferts des immigrants vont diminuer parce que l'activité économique dans les pays d'accueil va diminuer. la rente pétrolière pour les pays qui sont fortement producteurs de pétrole va produire une difficile situation dans son budget. Mais il n'y a pas que le pétrole, il y a les matières premières en général. Le tourisme, vous l'avez dit, bien sûr. Donc, nous avons des sources de financement qui vont se tarir. Et tout ça, ça va sans doute produire des problèmes économiques d'abord, peut-être politiques après. Mais ça, c'est pas seulement dans le pays de notre environnement prochain. En général, dans toute l'Afrique et l'Amérique latine, ça va être un problème. Évidemment, je suis très préoccupé pour les événements qui peuvent se produire comme conséquence de la crise économique qui a suivi à la crise sanitaire et à la crise politique qui peut devenir.
Merci. Et maintenant, Jacopo, Politico.
Hi, good morning, good afternoon. You can hear me? I have a question on Ivini because as far as I can understand, Malta is blocking the appointment of the new commander, and also there was also blocking the budget for the operation.
The what?
So first of all, I was wondering, Malta, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm listening to you. I'm listening to you, but very badly. Repeat.
Very badly. Sorry, I tried to speak up and see whether you can hear me better.
Okay.
My question is on Operation Irini. Operation Irini, whether you think that with Malta blocking the budget and the appointment of the new commander, the operation is at risk, or whether any kind of deal has been reached or is in the making with Malta to unblock this issue. And what's your answer to Serraj's interview saying that the operation is at risk of helping Haftar? Thanks.
Well, this is not a deal to be done with Malta. I've been talking several times, the last one this afternoon with my colleague, the Foreign Affairs Minister of Malta, and this issue has been raised on the Foreign Affairs Defense Council that we have just finished. I understand the concerns of Malta because they are facing a strong push on the wave of migrants coming from Libya. I understand perfectly, and I am trying to mobilize all our capacities from the Home Commissioner here in the Commission and with the member states that can be involved in order to try to help Malta to face the situation. But at the same time, I don't think that the solution is too difficult, the Irini operation, because the Irini operation is being conceived to help to stop the fighting in Malta. To stop the fighting in Malta is a way of stabilizing politically, Malta and Libya. And the political stabilization in Libya is a conditioning for controlling the migrants' wave in the central Mediterranean. So in the medium term, the best way of facing this challenge for Malta is the stabilization of Libya, and it depends on Irini among many other things, but also it depends on the well-working of this mission, among others. The Foreign Affairs Minister of Malta understood perfectly what I was talking with him, and I hope that these obstacles will be under control on the next days, and the Irini operation can start operating fully. And about the Sarraj declarations, I'm not aware of this declaration. I've been in closed doors working on the Foreign Defense Council the whole afternoon, but I've been having the possibility of talking with the Libyan authorities on the previous days, and I think that I have to explain that this operation is a way of controlling by sea and by air the arms traffic, control the arms embargo. It's not addressed against anyone. It's trying to help United Nations on making effective the arms embargo, but it's not addressed against anyone. It's trying to control by air and by sea. That's the thing that the European Union can do, the routes of the arms that goes to Libya. So it's not addressed against anyone, specifically.
Patricia from ANSA, please. Patricia?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can now.
Good evening. Hi, Representative. Hi, Virginie. I saw your declaration, High Rep, on Libya, and I was wondering if you have something more specific on the attitude that Turkey is taking in Libya, targeting Haftar. Are you worried this will escalate more the situation? And also on Irini, I haven't well understood. Is the operation right now fully operational, or is because of Malta it has been stopped and it's not operating? Could you please clarify? Thank you.
It was almost operating. Some hours ago, I would say it's already operating. It's already operating. The first naval asset, the Navy capacity, that thanks to France, it's already on the area, and the plane capacity provided by Luxembourg is also operational. So they are operating. The problem is that funding. And, well, by the time being, we have already funding, but I hope that the Malta objection will be cancelled in the following days. But from yesterday, the mission is operating.
Thank you.
Sorry, Turkey. And on Turkey?
Yes, you asked me if I am concerned. Well, to be concerned is my natural state. I am concerned the whole day for many different reasons. And yes, I am concerned by the situation in Libya. And it's not a secret, and there is nothing new that Turkey, together with other foreign powers, are intervening on the fight in Libya. In spite of the Berlin process, the ceasefire has not been implemented. And by the contrary, the fight on the last weeks has been increasing quite a lot. And for sure, I am concerned, but not more from Turkey than from the other foreign powers that are intervening in Libya war.
Thank you. I will now move on to Naomi.
Hello, thank you for taking my question. Naomi O'Leary here of the Irish Times. High Representative, I wonder if I could ask you, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said that on the government's agenda should be discussions of possible annexation of parts of the West Bank. France thinks that the EU should respond with something strong and concrete. What do you think?
This is the most important item in the agenda of the next Foreign Affairs Council, who will take place next Friday afternoon. And I hope that the European Union will present their position about a possible annexation. We already did at the beginning when the Americans presented their peace plan, the so-called peace plan. We already did it. We'll do it. In the meantime, we are waiting for the new Israeli government to be in office, and we'll congratulate them. We'll have a phone call, I hope, with the new Foreign Affairs Minister, and with the information I can have from this contract, I will go to the Foreign Affairs Council, and we'll discuss which is going to be the position of the European Union.
Thank you. Moving on to Stuart.
Hi, thank you for taking my question. High Representative, I want to follow up on an interview you did about a week ago in which you mentioned the EU had been a little naive about China. Then a few days later, the EU's ambassador to China published an op-ed striking a very different tone and agreeing to China's request for self-censorship. My question is, as head of the EEAS, what would you do when an ambassador's attitudes do not seem to be in close compliance with your policy agenda? Thank you.
Well, I don't think we have to. I don't think we have to exaggerate the importance of these events. That China has a state-controlled media and there is censorship, it's nothing new. Huh? Are you discovering it now? In its contact with Chinese media, the European Union delegation, as also other countries' embassies, operate in this environment and does everything they can to pass European Union messages to the Chinese public, in spite of these obvious challenges that there is nothing new, and we knew perfectly in which environment we work. So the ambassador had to take a decision to pass the 99% of the European Union message, which at the end was not even possible because the Chinese version of the op-ed was not published. And the decision taken under great time pressure, one can consider, and I am considering, that was not the right one to take. But the administrative hierarchy of the External Action Service has discussed the matter with him to ensure that something like this will not happen again. And it was not the right decision to take, and on these occasions it would be better to go into consultation with the headquarters. But that being said, the ambassador continues to have my confidence.
Thank you. I will move on to Anna. Anna from Euronews.
Anna, are you?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. We can even see you.
Hello, thank you. So, following this pandemic, I would like to understand how vulnerable or how prepared is the EU to stop a hypothetical virological attack. I would like to understand if you have discussed about that and what could be done.
Well, to tell the truth, we haven't gone deeper in this subject, which is our preparedness and capacity to participate in a biological war. By the time being, it's not in the agenda. We are dealing with a natural phenomena, something that doesn't make part of a biological war. We haven't gone deeply on the subject of how could we face a biological war, because it's not in the agenda. Thanks God.
And I will now take Tommaso, which on my screen appears to be the last question. Tommaso? Tommaso, we cannot hear you. Still not?
What's happening?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Hi, Rep. Thank you for this press conference. Just two questions, if I may. The first one is on China. I wonder if you are planning to raise with the Chinese authorities also with some discretion, the issue of the wet markets, which are very likely to be the origin of the pandemic currently ongoing. And there was another question, but I can't remember it right now. Just this one. Thank you.
The question is, were the wet markets the origin of the pandemic? This was the question?
We're going to raise the issue of wet markets with Chinese authorities, because the wet markets are very likely to be the origin of the pandemic.
You know more than I. You know more than I. I don't know which is the sources of scientific authority you are using to say that the wet markets are likely to be the origin of the pandemic. We are supporting, and we will support on the conference of the World Health Organization next 18th of May, a proposal for a scientific and independent inquiry to know better, to know more about which are the origins of the pandemics. I wouldn't dare visit the wet markets or not, because I am not, I don't have the scientific knowledge about it. And that's why we need scientific research and scientific inquiry, neutral, objective, based on scientific grounds, in order to know more what's happening and in order to prevent that this can happen again. Maybe the wet markets are part of the problem, but frankly speaking, I wouldn't be able to confirm your assumption.
Follow up?
The second question is on...
You remember also, the second question?
Yeah, I apologize for that. No. But, just one question. If you have guidelines on the payment of a ransom for an hostage or not, as a European Union, because in Italy there are quite some problem, because there's a spokesperson of Al-Shabaab who said on the record that the sum which was paid to free up Silvio Romano was actually used by Al-Shabaab, will be used by Al-Shabaab to buy weapons. I wonder if it's a problem for you or not. Thank you.
Yes, it must be a problem for sure, but frankly speaking, I don't have more information to give to you. No? Sorry.
Thank you. I see that Patricia and Naomi have still their hand raised. Patricia, do you have a follow-up, or is it just a mistake?
Yeah.
Patricia, we cannot hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, my question is a follow-up on Naomi's question. I would like to understand whether after this contact High Representative will have with the Israeli Foreign Minister, there is also an option to have sanctions on the table.
Well, look, the contact with the Foreign Affairs Minister of the new recently formed Israeli government is just a normal context to congratulate him and to offer cooperation from the side of the European Union. I don't think we are going to go in deeply discussion about which are their plans and what will be our answer. This is not going to be the right moment. It's just a call to congratulate and to offer cooperation, and for sure maybe we will go in some specific issues, but I don't expect to be engaged in a deeply discussion about this very specific issue. No? So the important thing is to go to the Council and the Member States to present their point of views. You know that everything in foreign policy requires unanimity, especially sanctions. So we are, by the time being, far away of discussing about sanctioning, but it's important for me and for the European Union foreign policy to know which is the position of the member states with respect to the respect of international law, and how can we judge this announced annexion. In order to clarify the position of the European Union. But I cannot advance the result because I know that this is a very divisive issue inside the Council, and different member states have different positions. We noticed it when we discussed it about a couple of months ago, and I suppose that this divide is still is there. So it will be a very interesting Foreign Affairs Council. Maybe next Friday at the press conference I will be able to give you more details about it.
Naomi, you still have your hand raised. If it's on the same subject, okay. I suppose this was covered by this last answer. So with that, I would like to thank you all for your attendance. Thanks to the High Representative for his time, and I wish you a very nice evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.